All right, folks. So here we are once again. For Economics, Red Bank High School, 2020, quarter four for you guys and everything else. So a couple of updates for everything that's been going on right now and things that have been kind of happening. I'm sure most of you guys probably haven't paid attention for everything else. It happened late last night while the storms and everything were rolling through. Or actually a little bit before the storms rolled through. So Governor Lee, who for those of you that have my government class know that Governor Bill Lee is our governor for the state of Tennessee. He did announce that all schools will remain closed through Friday, April 24th. So as this basically sits and stands, we've got realistically about another 3 work weeks of this, not including this one that we're going through right now. So we've got about roughly, off the top of my head, 10 to 20 classes or so, 10 to 20 classes that will be done in this virtual manner. So you guys can kind of see it. Right now, we're presumably going to make some changes as far as when we will come back. We are planning to be back live and in living color, hopefully in the building, on Monday, April 27th. That is our ultimate goal here at Hamilton County Schools and Red Bank High School. As you can see, subject to change in all different ways, shapes, and forms. We still don't have any updates on prom, no updates on graduation. Chromebook hours, they're a little different, 10 to 12 most days of the week. They're trying to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday for food delivery from 11 to 1. So if you got food yesterday, awesome. If you haven't, if you got some Monday, you should be able to get to a couple different things that are going on right now with that. So that's just kind of the deal as far as stuff outside, and we'll just kind of see how it goes, and it'll just basically kind of adjust. So that's the situation as we know it. So right now, literally over about 5-6 weeks, you guys have been out of the school building with everything else, and that's just outside. So for economics, guys, here's the deal. Dropped in Section 2 work yesterday morning. After I got done finishing up with Section 1 and everything else that goes along with it, and went through 2.1. Today I'm going to walk you through 2.2 and the world map economies and what goes into it, as well as doing a couple different more sections of the paper, and we'll kind of go through that. So here's the deal. What we got through, guys, yesterday was the 4 different types of economic system and what basically they do. And today, what I will try to go through, guys, is just 2 things. One is I'll go through this 2.2. This again, if you're wondering where it is, this is in your eFolio for everything else. And then I will go through the extra questions on the paperwork and everything else that you guys have so far. So here's the deal. Yesterday we got through these 4 different types of systems. Traditional, which is old school living off the land. Command economies, which is where the government does everything. Free market economies is where individuals have a lot of freedom. And then mixed is where you have limited freedom with government being involved. On 2.2, on this stuff today, guys, what I wanted you to kind of look at is going through here and see if you can figure out what these 10 countries do as far as these 4 types of economy. So you can see I gave you some brief definitions of these things up here, like traditional living off the land, market, no control, all individual freedom, government, all government control, mixed is freedom with government. So if you go through and look at this, you can try to figure out where those 10 countries match up. If you need help, you can go to this link right here. So I'll open this up so you guys can see it with everything else. And then you can basically search, all right, alphabetically. So if I'm going here, all right, and let's say I wanted to look up the United States of America, you click on this. You've got these sections, introduction, geography, all this stuff. Obviously, where you'd want to go is economy, and you can read the overview. And again, you need to look and see how much freedom there is and how much government there is involved. That's probably the biggest thing for all this stuff, all right, when you're trying to break these down. So you're trying to find U.S., China, Cuba, Russia, India, France, North Korea, Germany, Mexico, and Canada. They all use one of these four types of economic systems to basically go through and look at all different kinds of stuff. So that should hopefully be not too many issues there, all right, for all this stuff. Then the next one is you have a nice little article here that breaks down the top 10 ranking economies, and I just wanted you guys to see how these economic systems rank with one another. And then finally right here, this news article breaks down the economic systems of the future and what potentially has the capability to be number one or fall off or whatever that may happen in that particular point in time. So you literally just use the link to read and respond, copy and paste some of your answers. I'm on 2.2. Okay, so again, 2.1 was yesterday where we had the basic stories of the systems. 2.2 is breaking down where the countries rank and what each country uses for all this stuff. So again, if you're looking at it for these four types of systems, you have traditional, okay, which is basically all about living off the land. You have central economies, which are command economies, which is all about government. Free market, which is all about individual freedom. Mixed, which is freedom with some limits where the government gets involved with the freedom issue as well. So that kind of breaks down those four. If you're going through the paper stuff, what we got to yesterday was pretty much all of page 1, just kind of breaking down just a couple things. If you go in here on page 2, so real quick, pause for the call so you guys can see this. If you have this, and some of you guys are working pretty daggum good, which is awesome. If you have this, guys, on the paperwork, remember, I did give you an answer doc. So if you open this up and kind of look at it, okay, I did page 1 yesterday. So if you're looking at the answer doc right here, you can type all this stuff in. Today, I'm going to go down to page 2, looking at these vocabulary terms for communism, socialism, and everything else pretty quickly, and then get to page 3 as far as individual freedom and everything else that goes with it. So here's the deal. For this particular situation, you have command economies and what goes into it. It's asking for like definitions, a synonym, types, and the two different types that are on there. So if you're looking for a synonym, okay, for all this stuff, so again, you pick your words from down here. You're probably looking at authoritarian. That is a synonym for command economies. All right. If you're looking at a definition, okay, it would be that 3-letter word, central planned. That would kind of be an easy answer there. The types, there are 2 types, guys. One is called socialism. The other is called communism. I will get into what that means tomorrow in a nutshell, but that would kind of give you your answers as far as that stuff goes for all those different kinds of things. And then you have advantages, disadvantages, all that stuff. So if you're trying to fill this in on like 1, 2, 3, and 4, the centrally planned economy, that's an actual definition of a command economy. The synonym would be authoritarianism, and then there are 2 types that are out there in use, which I will explain these isms more tomorrow. So what it goes into all this stuff, guys, is the breakdown of communism versus socialism. Like I said, this is what I'm going to talk about in detail tomorrow with all the isms. This is something that you guys have probably heard a lot, at least in movies, different kinds of things. Communism, socialism, who's a commie, who's not a commie, who's a socialist, who's not a socialist, who's a capitalist, all this stuff. So if you look at all this stuff here on number 13 and 14, it basically boils down to 2 things. Number 13 is asking, how do communism and socialism differ in terms of a role that a government plays? So if you look at what does the government do in communism and socialism, it deals with how much freedom the government allows people to have in these systems that are in place. The next one, it talks about how do you think incentives for individuals would be different with the 2 systems. That again is basically asking the question, how much individual freedom does a person have in communism versus socialism? I'm going to get into all that, but I will basically tell you for number 14, the easiest answer you could find. You have more freedom in socialism than you have in communism, okay? But there's another one, capitalism, we'll talk about tomorrow, that talks about all this. So if you're breaking this down, this is just kind of a really quick introductory assignment for communism and socialism. This lays out the basic 4 or 5 things that communism and socialism does in a country that is considered to be communist or socialist as we know it right now. So that's what you're trying to break down with all these different kinds of things on number 13 and number 14. Okay, it deals with how much government does a communist and socialist country have involved with it, how much individual freedom do those countries have involved with it. All right, and tomorrow we'll go through a couple different things and talk about this idea of communism versus socialism and get some more of these questions answered for you guys as well. So here's the main thing, guys, going back to this. If you're doing the eFolio, you should be on 2.2 right now, knocking this out, going through these matching things and then going through that. If you're deciding to do the paper packet, you should at least be on page 2 of this. Okay, so you got page 1. All right, right here, page 2, I filled in for you guys. Page 3, all right, it's your own individual answers for this, where it talks about these things with everything else. And then if you're doing the answer doc on page 4, I will go through and help you guys out with that, like I said, tomorrow. All right, so this is what we're going to talk about tomorrow. It's the idea of using these 4 types of economies to create a basic structure. You have a system that is set up. Then what you move into, guys, is after the system's in place, with all these different kinds of things, you have things that's called capitalism, and then you have communism, all right, and socialism. Okay, that's the 3 isms. Okay, there's a system. There's 4 of them that create a structure. All right, system creates structure. We've gone through the systems now yesterday and today. Those are the 4 main types of systems that are out there. Traditional, command, market, and mixed. I'm going to try to explain how they're used in real life and what they're called with the isms. Capitalism, communism, and socialism. Tomorrow, that'll be a little heavy stuff for section 2 because that's pretty much what the whole central idea is. This is basically the guideline or the blueprint for how countries run things, okay? This is what they're all basing it off of 4 different ways of running their business, which is their country. Tomorrow, I'll explain how they basically take that and create an actual structure of how things are actually worked for everything else. All right? So today, guys, make sure you're staying on track with 2.2. I will pop in or drop in the live Q&A sessions this afternoon. I didn't get to do it yesterday because I had some other things as far as updating grades and stuff. So make sure you guys are staying on top of that. Grades are being updated pretty much every day. I'm going through here and getting a couple different things in. You'll notice as far as this stuff goes, and make this a little bit bigger, right now you've got 5 things, all right, that have been opened up and dropped into your PowerSchool. One is Google Classroom sign up, is section 1 stuff. Again, if you've done the paper packets, you get grades for both of those as I grade through the notes. Usually what I'll do is the folio stuff, I'll do the multiple choice. The notes and everything else I use as a review to kind of see what you're writing down for your answers. And then the same thing here on section 2. All right, you're going to have a daily grade and then an assessment/test grade that you guys will be able to kind of see. And you'll notice most of this stuff is not due till the beginning of next week, March 30th for section 2. All right, so that's just kind of the deal as we have it right now. You should be getting to almost halfway done with your section 2 stuff and then get that turned in. If you want to go ahead and knock out all of it, by all means, feel free. I know some people are doing that. It's the same way I do it if we'd been live in the building for everything else. But this stuff has to be due, again, all right, no later than this coming Monday, and I will adjust that so you guys can see it. All right, Monday is when all this stuff will be the deadline to kind of finish up as well. All right, so make sure you guys are staying on top of it. If you have questions, comments, concerns, I'll be available, like I said, this afternoon for some Q&A session and some Q&A time, and we'll go from there. All right, make sure you guys are following along and talk to you this afternoon or talk to you as soon as possible.